Oh my God, David and Lyn, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Okay, so I want to just start by telling you how I found out about this movie. So I was chilling, I was listening to CBC, I heard you being interviewed by Tom Power, and first of all, I'm like obsessed with Christmas. Like it is like my season. It starts November 1st for me. Like it's a whole thing. And he was just, all I remember about the interview really is that he was like, oh my God, like this guy, David was watching Christmas movies with his kid and the kid never saw himself represented. So he wanted to make this movie. And I was like, oh, that sounds really nice. I'm all about representation. But then I put on the movie and I'm like, oh my God. It is about, like nowhere was it mentioned that it was about like a young Black girl who's low-key a math genius that saves Christmas by finding the square root of impossible. Like, do you know
yes,
what?
Yes.
And I freaked out. So because I'm like literally freaking out constantly about this and can't even describe it, can we just start by you, like, tell us what the movie's about? Like, if you were going to tell our listeners what the movie's about, what would you say?
I'd say it's about an inventor named Jingle Jangle, the greatest inventor in all the land. And he was betrayed by his apprentice, so he lost his mojo, and he stopped believing in himself for any of his inventions anymore. And his granddaughter from across town comes to see him. Little does he know, she's an inventor herself and a genius and a scientist and all of that. And the movie is about, can she help her grandfather find his mojo again so that everything starts working again.
Oh my God, you're literally quoting one of the greatest songs of all time, by the way. So, okay. And the other thing I think everyone should know is it's a musical because actually, guys, yes. I'll be honest, like I'm super into musicals, but I'm not into even musical movies. Like I was like, oh, am I going to get into it? Oh, I was into it. So, okay. One of the craziest things to me about the movie, I do a lot of research about representation with math in movies, and every math movie pretty much is like super boring and dry. And it's like some white dude who's like a genius. And then he goes crazy because he's like, oh my God, too smart and can't have a life. But you made this movie about this like happy-go-lucky, like magical, wondrous film that involved math. And like, what possibly gave you the idea to combine math into a Christmas movie? Like, where did that come from for you?
Well, for me, it was, I love math, first of all. I count in my head. I don't really write things down. I like it a lot, but it started because I flunked in college math and business economics twice.
Oh my God.
And I said,
we're like twins.
And statistics. And I said, and then I came back later and got an A in both of them because I understood it. And so I like the whimsy of films like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and Willy Wonka and Mary Poppins. And so I came up with this thing, the square root of the second derivative of sensational, the circumference of spectacular, and the square root of impossible, these formulas. And then Lyn really took them to heart and got a hold of them and made this whole book series. And she really latched on to the square root of possible. And so that became her kind of formula for what she does.
Okay, like it is so crazy because Christmas is about, like, if I could think about joy and wonder, Christmas is what comes to mind. Like, it's the most joyous of joys and like the most wondrous of wonders. But the crazy thing is, so is math. But it never gets positioned that way. Like, math is like the most boring thing in school. And whenever, like, no one thinks of it like this. So you guys have done what I consider to be like, okay, wow, this is so cheesy, but it is like a Christmas miracle. Like, you have managed to infuse the two together. Like, the Christmas magic has somehow contagiously caught onto math through this film. Do you guys like realize what an impact this is going to have? What kind of impact did you want to have? And are you seeing that maybe like you didn't realize how big of a deal this is?
You want to go?
Yeah, well, for me, as he was saying, I wanted to find my square root of possible. And I want other people to figure out what is that formula for them? What is the formula for success, be it adults, kids, you name it? And what's our square root of possible? So that's really what that whole theme behind it is, this adding the magic to it. And I felt like we need to add the arts into STEM. Yes. So it's like, as they call it, STEAM, where you add the arts into STEM education. And also I wanted, girls to feel good about being smart, because it is magic. It's magical. And all of these girls out there, if you just listen to anything that Journey's character says in her songs and what, when she starts, moving around with that ball of magic and her formulas, and they just come to life, it makes it just way more exciting. And we have a 7-year-old son, and we have to find ways to make things enticing and exciting and to want to do. And we want to do it this way, and we want to see it, and it makes us happy and magical and feel good. It's going to make him want to do it. In turn, other children want to do it.
Yeah, 100%. And one of the things I loved about it, like when I'm trying to explain it to people, I'm like, guys, you don't understand. It's about an inventor. Like, think about how cool it is to be an inventor. Like, it's almost like, okay, at this day and age, no one understands that, right? Like, everyone's like making new apps and doing this and that. But I love how simple it was that, like, you almost didn't even like, it didn't matter what he was inventing. It was such a simple thing. I won't like give it away, but it was like, the gizmos and the gadgets and the fact that he was just making something out of nothing became so magical. And I kind of think like, I do a lot of work with like, let's get kids into coding. And you're kind of like, I don't know, like that doesn't seem that, cool. I get that we're making something, but I like that you took that idea and made it tangible and magical. And I think like, I literally get goosebumps when I'm talking about this because that I know you're not like in education and you're filmmakers, but that is what is missing literally from education, from the classroom. Like,
no, you're so right.
Yeah. No, feel free to say more about that. Cause I was about to ask you like because I still think it's so crazy that you chose to go this route because normally like the two don't meet. Like Lyn, do you have any specific experiences with math or where you felt that way?
So my father was an optometrist. He was actually one of the first Black optometrists licensed in the state of Nevada. My mother trained to be a nurse. She's actually a math genius in her own right. And my father said, before he passed that she should have been the doctor in the family, truthfully. I grew up around the sciences and I grew up around seeing science work. And also because my father was so great with people and it mattered for him to heal people with sciences, there was an affinity for that and what it did and what it meant. And at the same time, my nephew is an engineer. He does a lot of coding and he actually consulted on creating some of the formulas that you see in the film. To make sure that they made mathematical sense as well. So
I was looking through the book yesterday being like, oh, wait, hold on.
Yeah, you're like, does this go together?
I was.
But so for us, I grew up around people that were into the sciences, into engineering, into, math in general. And so I always had a love for it. I did not have that gift, but I felt like in the space of figuring things out for me, if I could create a formula for it, these are the things that I would create. The square root of possible, the sensational and all these different things. That's how I would want to say it to make it make sense for me and to make it be fun for me.
I love it. And it's okay. So you said you didn't think you had the gift, and I have to bring it up because my whole thing is that there's no such thing as a math person, but we're taught that. Like, and I just think like I went through so much of my life being like, well, because I'm like obsessed with Keanu Reeves and I want to be a famous rock star. Like that's my vibe. So like anytime, no, I'm serious though. Okay. But anytime I wasn't doing well in math, people would be like, oh, you're just not a math person. Like you're not, because we do, like you said, we separate the arts from STEM often. And the way you're saying it so beautifully now is the fact that you had to find a way for you. And you kind of were like, math isn't about like, David, it's actually very impressive that you do math in your head and I love it, but it's like, that's not
very good at it.
And that's amazing. And that is what being good at math is. But math is also being good at problem solving. It's about thinking creatively, right? It's about seeing things like Journey that no one else sees, even if they're not like the quote unquote right things that the world sees. So like, you do have that gift.
Then I'm definitely a genius.
You're a genius. I mean, I don't think that's up for debate. Like, you're for sure a genius. You're for sure a genius. And I'm sure, like, I'm not going to get into all the crazy things I'm sure happened in the making of this film, which you've been writing since 1996. Like, you were solving problems. You were making equations. You weren't maybe writing them down, but that's what I love about this movie is like Journey has this way of seeing things. And I even love her little like trainee friend who's like loves her.
Oh, Edison.
Edison so cute, but also like he doesn't see things her way, but he's just as helpful. You know, like he's pulling his weight and he's doing what he needs to do to make the equations work. And that's what I love I love that every kid's going to come away from this being like, okay, like there is a piece of me that fits in here. And I don't care if people go into STEM. I truly don't. But I care if people feel like they don't belong there and they don't have the choice. And
Absolutely.
So, Lyn, I was going to ask you, did you ever feel that way?
I actually didn't feel that way. It was, what do I have a love and passion for?
Yes.
Because like I actually was going to go into optometry and, went to my first year thinking that, I'm going to follow in my dad's footsteps and I'm going to be an optometrist like him. But my heart wasn't in it.
Yeah.
In that particular. So I am more of a creative person, and my science, is revealed in more creative ways. But like you said, being a problem solver and troubleshooting things, I am a geek when it comes to technology. You wouldn't think so with figuring out the earbuds, but I'm the go-to girl when it comes to customer service with my mom. Dave's like, "What are you doing on the phone?" "Oh, I'm showing my mom how to update her computer." Or David's like, "Lyn, can you please help with this?" Or my son's like, "Can you come put this together?" So that is definitely me. I have my own little pink toolkit that I use around the house. There's just all kinds of things that I'm really into as far as fixing things and putting things together and figuring stuff out. So I think that is definitely a huge tool that people should have and kids should have in general, about finding ways to figure out how to solve and troubleshoot scenarios and situations.
You sound kind of like an inventor. Just gonna say, but it is true. And the other thing I was just gonna throw in is I was having this talk with someone earlier. It's so weird with math and science. It's almost like people think those are the things that make you smart. So like, for example, you'll see someone like you just said, actually, you're so accomplished in the things you've created, right? Like you're so creative, but someone can paint this beautiful painting and no one will look at it and be like, wow, that person's so smart. They'll say, they'll use other words. They're so creative. They're so thoughtful, whatever. But we place this weird value on intelligence and the type of intelligence that goes along with math and science. So that's why when people are like, well, who cares about representation in math and science? If you're bad at math and science, or you're made to feel at a young age like you can't do it, which happens to lots of girls and a lot of people of color, it just does. When that happens, you internalize that and you carry that with you and you think, there's this thing on this planet I can't do and it makes me stupid. So I really like that your movie opens up the entry point to STEM to say, there is a way for you to feel good at this. You, like Lyn said, it's so well said. If it's not your love or passion, don't do it. But if you want to, you can feel good at it and still choose to say no to it.
Absolutely. And also for us in this film, we wanted to honor those inventors in history that weren't recognized. Like Edison's last name is Latimer, from Lewis Latimer, who also invented the light bulb, but nobody knows that. You know what I'm saying? Right. So there are a lot of, Vivian Thomas, who was part of creating the bypass heart surgery that worked behind the doctor that gets credited for it. There are a lot of us out there that are very involved and very entrenched in the sciences, in law and all these type of things. Lewis Latimer also was a patent lawyer. It's like you would not know these things unless you really delved in, because no one puts them in the books for us to learn.
Absolutely.
And it's not fair to a lot regarding representation, because these kids don't know, wow, there's someone that looks like me that invented the filament that makes the light bulb light up. There's someone that's like me invented heart surgery and he never even went to medical school. Like, so these are the things that we want to put out there. And we have a lot of Easter eggs within the film that honor those before us in history that may have not gotten the credit that they deserve. So, you make a good point just about shining a light on representation so that, the kids that haven't seen themselves in this type of media feel I can do that too. Wow.
Yeah. Yes. And so speaking of first, like, I love that. I loved all the Easter eggs. Like, I can't wait to watch it like a million times to see more. But I hope, like, you guys, I think all the interviews I've read and listened to are like, this is the first live action movie for Netflix. I think that's cool. But I think what's way cooler is that I truly think that this is the first movie that presents joy in this magical and wondrous way for a Black girl to feel capable of. Like, I've been racking my brain. I did a poll on my Instagram to ask anyone if they had seen anything like this, if there were any other characters. As you can imagine, the only movie anyone else comes up with is Hidden Figures, which was recent. So I want to ask you, like, yeah, I'm sure you're very, very proud of the film, but I kind of see it as a call to action for the rest of Hollywood to pick it up. Like, what do you hope to inspire in the rest of this media kind of landscape we're in that has such power over kids? What do you hope to, what is the call to action? Do you hope that they take something from this?
I think it's normalizing people of color in worlds that we wouldn't normally see them in. I mean, we have most of my interviews now about, representation and all that, but that's because you can't point to one like this. But the goal is to normalize it. So then we're just talking about it as being a good film.
Totally.
And of course, before Jordan Peele did Get Out, Black people didn't last after 5 minutes in a horror movie. We were paid by the minute so that they give us $1,000 a minute. And you're like, oh, make a lot of money. Well, your ass is only going to be alive for 5 minutes of the film. But now, it's normalized. Black Panther, normalized. Yeah. You can't do any of the Marvel movies without seeing the General or, God rest his soul, Chadwick Boseman. But those characters, the little sister. So that's what I wanted to do with this, is to normalize people of color and worlds of wonder and magic and science and all that. So it's like, of course, we're there. So I'm hoping that's what it does. That's why we threw everything and the kitchen sink into it to make sure. But that's what we're most proud of with the film. Yeah.
And also, like, we felt that doing this, we knew we wanted to make something amazing and bring this vision to life. And at the same time, we knew it also was a responsibility on our shoulders, because if we got it wrong, was someone else going to get another chance? The Wiz came out 40 years ago, if you can believe that. And that wasn't an original IP. So when you look at, films that have had theatrical releases and gone to, been available to us, it's been a long time. It took us 20 years to get this done. And so, as David said, it is about normalizing it. And it is also about opportunities and opening doors for other people to get this chance without having to wait so long.
That is so generous and wonderful. I think that is such a wonderful way of looking at it. And also that's a lot of pressure to put on yourself. But the good news is you got it right. And okay, the other thing is I was like, yeah, you really did. I was nervous during it because I was like, if they turn this into a musical, I'm going to, I think people would lose their minds. I can't imagine being, I'm not kidding. I was hysterically, bawling. I was like, oh my God. I was like, imagine a theater full of people watching this. Is this going to be a musical? Are you allowed to tell me? Is this?
Yes.
Stop.
We're working on a Broadway musical for this, which is what it was intended to originally be. But we're taking it to the stage.
I need a moment of
Jangle
silence.
on stage.
Yeah, I'm like literally, I'm speechless because I can't even, like, I feel like it is going to be the most cathartic, like empowering experience. Like I can't even, like, I wish I could be cast in this musical. I have no skills that would be useful, like literally at all. Oh my God. Okay, we were talking about representation and I have to tell you this story because it's crazy. So yesterday, I'm interviewing this woman named Esther Brunot. She's like a math influencer, okay, from the States. So she's like a Black math influencer. And I'm like, have you seen Jingle Jangle? She loses her mind. She's like, 5 times. Then she pulls out a video of her niece, no joke, who's at the window in the like fog, saying, I'm Journey, and doing all the magical So first of all, it was like, are you freaking out? Okay. But also I'm sending you the video because I already asked her. I was like, listen.
Absolutely.
Please send it.
Yes, I will. I was like, low key, I might be actually speaking to these people. And she was like, what are you talking about? I was like, I don't want to hype it up yet. But yes, she showed me the video. You're literally going to freak out. But the thing is, she's not the only one. Like this, like you're having such a crazy impact. And it's like, to think like these are young girls who are going to grow up with a completely different perception of themselves and their abilities thanks to your Christmas movie.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it really is. When I start to write something, I write to entertain myself, and then you put it out in the world, and you hope people love it as much as you love the love you put into it. But this one has really been overwhelming. The chord that has been struck with this has really been overwhelming. People are really moved by the film in so many different ways, and I'm just very thankful to be Lyn and I to be given this gift that we can give to the world, and it's very overwhelming, but I'm very appreciative and enjoying the ride. This is 30 years it'll be in the business for me, so it's very special, very special.
Very special.
This is so amazing. I want to make sure we talk about the books because last night my bedtime story was The Square Root of Possible. So Yay! Can we, I actually, and again, like I put it on my gift list. I've been telling everyone, yes. Oh my God. Show it up. So cute. Tell us about the books. Like what's the vibe? What do we need to know?
So, I want the Jingle Jangle universe to be a part of, our world forever and a part of holidays and really everything. So in my mind, you have to have those ancillary things to keep pushing the message. So I love that song, Square Root of Possible. And that song got me through shooting this movie. I'm in my car singing it. I'm playing it all the time. And I know how this movie touched the little girl in me. So as that little girl, I knew that I would want to see something added to that. So that's why I did Square Root of Possible picture books. So for those really little ones. And then, which is just a sweet little story about how, she helps Geronicus bring back his possible. And I put the words of the song in the back so that they could sing along as well to the song. So anyone that gets a book, they get the download of the song for free if they just upload their receipt. And then the middle grade book was for that 10 and up, that delves into the story a little bit more. For my son's 7, but he's reading both of them actually. And I had to have just a full circle moment. I had Felicia Rashad do the audio of the middle grade book, which is Jingle Jangle, the invention of Geronicus Jangle. Say that 10 times. Jingle Jangle, the invention of Geronicus Jangle. So that's really what it's about. I want to continue to support little girls and boys in this way, in a positive way, and encourage them to, use their imagination and use STEM and push on the things that they want to do, and that they know in their minds and in their hearts that anything is possible.
Mm-hmm. I feel like this is going to be so useful. Like educational resources kind of suck. Like there isn't stuff like this, right? It's either like a textbook or it's like nothing. So I think it's going to be really cool to see what you guys come up with. Like I'm kind of envisioning, since I'm here to pitch my idea, like a Where's Waldo type book, but like for all the things you were talking about, like all the little Easter eggs and like where's drink? Okay, whatever, who cares? We can cut this out of the podcast. But I just thought about it. The other thing I was going to say quickly, me and David are in a band, like a rock band, and I'm putting the hearts out on us covering Square Root of Possible. Like a rock version.
Oh, you better send that.
We have to do it. And I play keytar, so we could have like a keytar in it. David, you have to say
Oh, wow. Yeah. I love it.
Really putting me on the spot.
I guess that's a yes. Okay. Final two questions. What would you change? If you could change one thing about the way math is taught in schools, what would it be?
For me, it would be to make it fun.
Yeah.
And that was the kind of the idea of, and make it not seem like yeah, like you know, like you had to be a rocket scientist, you know, to do it. And so that's why I started to make it fun and do formulas in my head and do things, and then I would figure out my own way of solving equations in my head, and just made it simple for me and easy. And now it's fun. But I think, yeah, if it didn't be like, you know, you have to do it, blah, 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 then I think I would change that. I would make it fun.
Well, and I love it. No, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was saying, yeah, same here. But I would do, because I remember music. You know, I love the music. I don't know if you remember that. 2 + 2 is 4. 4 + 4 is 8. 8 + 8 is 16, and 16 and 16 are 32. There are all these like fun little songs that would be done. You remember the count on Sesame Street?
Yes. I just love David's face.
3. He's like, no, I remember
David's like, no.
Sorry, it was another era. But
mine was Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah, I had Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah, that was my
too.
Era. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. Man and a woman had a little baby.
Yes.
Yeah, Schoolhouse Rock was it for me.
Yeah. So I miss stuff like that, because it's all about making it fun, and then you don't even realize it hits you when you're at the grocery store and you're like, you know, 16 and 16 are 32. You know, you're like, oh, 32. Oh, let me hear. You know. So I think definitely making it more fun, adding these elements, including something like movies like this in the curriculum to get the kids excited about, oh, maybe I do want to be an inventor or a mathematician, or, you know, do formulas in an amazing way, and add some art to it, you know, because I think you definitely get more kids excited about it. And there's so many, you know, resources out there now to help with that, like these box kits that they send out, and, you know, STEM kits, and, you know, getting people involved, like you doing podcasts and all of that. I just feel like we need to group together a little bit more on how to present it so that kids are excited about it.
I love it. And honestly, like, I think like time's over for, this is going to be bad. I shouldn't say it. I'm saying it anyway. I think time's over for like the school boards to be ruling it. Like, I'm kind of like, you know what? You had your chance and you have failed. So now it's up to actually people like influencers, people in the media, people who are creative. It's up to us to solve the problem now. And the truth is, like, when I was doing my master's, the research is clear. Like, the biggest influence on a kid's life is not what happens in the classroom. It's what happens outside of the classroom. So the more we can, and us taking charge of that and saying, no, you can't just keep making movies about white men doing math. Like, we're here to change it. The whole, you can't be what you can't see. Like, you can see it now, right? And as that happens, I think that stuff will change. And that idea of bringing creativity into the classroom, you're right. And I think it's not only in like, oh, we're painting, but in like appreciating getting the wrong answer, appreciating the creativity required to solve a problem. So like, you're entirely right. And you're up there. You're up doing, you know, you're doing it. You're doing it. All right. Last question. Yeah. Well, thank you. Last question is, what would you say to someone who says, well, I'm just not a math person?
Well, now that you beat it into my head, I'm going to say everyone's a math person. You know, can you solve a problem? You know, can you screw in a light bulb? You're a math person.
Yes.
But we work out formulas in every moment in our life. we're working
Yes.
out formulas. You know, even growing up in the church, in a church, for me, there was a scripture, one of my favorite scriptures, faith without works is dead. And so then that's an equation, faith plus works. So it's these things added equal this. And so it's all of, so I look at the formulas, spiritual formulas that help me get through life. But I think we're always working out formulas. I think we're all math people.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to cry and I have blue eyeliner on. So like, I just need like,
Yeah. Well, thank you. This whole thing, you know, Lyn's nephew helped with the formulas, Jalan, who is what is his gig?
He's an engineer for Intel.
He's an engineer, and then we brought in an astrophysicist in London that helped. So because we wanted actual formulas, it talked about momentum, it talked about propelling yourself through. So all these things were about how do you keep things moving, and so we took a lot of time with those. But I'm glad they struck a chord with you. I'm glad they struck a chord with young girls and boys everywhere. And again, thankful for the opportunity to share this with the world. Thanks for having us.
thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Everyone, literally stop what you're doing right now. Go to Netflix, put on Jingle Jangle. The square root of impossible
is possible in you.
Me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was like, you say it. You say it. All right.
Very possible.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.